Good day everyone. Today's report is all about the six personalities granted with executive clemency by the President of the Republic of the Philippines. First on our list is Joseph Scott Pemberton. Pemberton was in the Philippines to take part in regulatory manner exercise. His ship was docked at the Subic Bay Freeport, former home of the Subic Bay Naval Base, once the largest United States Navy base outside the United States. Jennifer Laude, a Filipina trans woman, met Joseph Scott Pemberton, a United States Marine Corps Lance Corporal from New Bedford, Massachusetts, at the Ambience Disco Bar in Olongapo on the evening of October 11, 2014. According to police and witnesses, they subsequently went to Salzon Lodge, a nearby motel. Minutes after checking in, Pemberton left the motel, leaving the door to the room ajar. Staff found Laude's naked body, partially covered from the waist down, with her neck blackened with strangulation marks and her head in a toilet bowl. Condoms recovered from the bathroom were subjected to DNA testing to determine if the semen if contained matched that of Pemberton. Forensic experts from the U.S. Army Criminal Investigation Laboratory determined that one of the three condoms in a condom wrapper recovered from the motel room had Pemberton's fingerprints. The DNA within the condoms also did not match Laude's DNA. The cause of death was reported as asphyxiation by drowning. Pemberton was reported to have later admitted that he murdered Laude after he found out she was a transgender. So about the victim, Jennifer Laude was born on November 4, 1987. At the time of her death at the age of 26, she was engaged to a German national. While having a drink with her friend Barbie Helvero at the Ambience Disco in Olongapo on October 11, 2014, she met this American military foreigner and agreed to go with him to a short-time hotel called the Selzon Lodge. Helvero went also with her own companion, and the couples went to different rooms later that night. Laude was found dead. So, court decision. On December 1, 2015, the Olongapo Regional Trial Court found Pemberton guilty of homicide, citing mitigating circumstances, including Laude not revealing her biological sex, and sentenced him to 6 to 12 years in jail. The court said the killing of Laude amounted only to homicide and did not meet the standards for murder. Pemberton, in the court's view, acted out of passion and obfuscation. The court ruled Pemberton that in the heat of passion, he arm-locked the deceased and drank her head in a toilet. In a ruling issued by the Olongapo Regional Trial Court, Branch 74 on March 30, 2016, the court affirmed the conviction of Pemberton while reducing the maximum sentence to 10 years from the original 12 years and also denying him bail. Early release and absolute pardon on September 2, 2020, Branch 74 of the Olongapo City Regional Trial Court granted Pemberton's partial motion of reconsideration, thereby releasing him from prison. Judge Rolin Genes Abalde said that Pemberton, then confined at the Armed Forces of the Philippines Custodial Center in Camp Aguinaldo, Quezon City, had already served a jail sentence of 10 years, 1 month and 10 days on account of his accumulated good conduct time allowance. The Laude camp opposed the decision, saying, Pemberton, who lives comfortably and only his liberty is restricted, cannot reasonably and justifiable claim good conduct. On September 7, 2020, President Rodrigo Roa Duterte granted an absolute pardon to Pemberton, which was justified by his spokesman Harry Roque, who was once a legal counsel for the Laude family.
The next personality that we have is Ruben Padilla. Ruben Padilla was convicted on January 20, 1993 for illegal possession of firearms and received a sentence to 17 years, 4 months, and 1 day to 21 years of imprisonment. President Ramos granted him a conditional pardon on April 8, 1998, and on November 15, 2020, President Rodrigo Roa Duterte granted him an absolute pardon because of non-violent nature of the crime and family situation and a humanitarian sentence. Ruben Padilla was convicted on January 20, 1993 by the judge David Rosette rendered the judgment on April 25, 1994. He was convicted of illegal possession of firearms and spent time on jail, and charged on December 3, 1992 in the Regional Trial Court of Angeles for the illegal possession of firearms and ammunition under the PD 1866. The sentence given to Mr. Robin Padilla is to is a sentence to indeterminate penalty from 17 years, 9 months, and 1 day. The President can grant executive clemency if there are real doubts about the guilt, excessive sentence, or for humanitarian concerns, such as illness or old age. One of the reasons why Mr. Rubin Padilla was granted an absolute pardon it is because his wife Mariel Padilla just gave birth to their daughter in the United States. So, because of the absolute pardon, Mr. Ruben Padilla was allowed to apply for state visa to visit his wife in US.
Antonio Puentes Trillanes IV, born on August 6, 1971. He is a retired Philippines naval officer who also served as a senator of the Philippines from 2007 to 2019. He is also known for the involvement in the Oakwood Mutiny of 2003 at the Manila Peninsula Siege in 2007 and protests against the Arroyo administration, and as a vocal critic of Duterte administration. A prominent Philippines lawmaker and a critic of President Rodrigo Roa Duterte, who has been holed up in the country Senate, has left accompanied by the police officers after an arrest warrant was ordered by the Manila court. Senator Antonio Trillanes was arrested on charge of rebellion, following an order moved by the President to revoke an amnesty granted to the senator for his involvement in a number of coup attempts that happened over a decade ago. I will go with the arresting team when there's a warrant, no matter how unjust that warrants may be, Trillanes said. The Makati Regional Trial Court issued the arrest warrant after the country's Supreme Court refused to back the senator over the validity of the amnesty. Image post by the Manila-based network shown Trillanes having his mugshot taken as part of the booking procedure. The issuance of the warrant being to head a standoff which began in late August, when Duterte placed an ad in national newspaper saying that clemency for the senator had been voided due to his failure to apply for amnesty and refusal to admit his guilt. The threat of imminent arrest following the announcement forced Trillanes to remain in the Senate where, given his position, he is afforded constitutional immunity against arrest. Bail has been set at 200,000 pesos. Trillanes is banned from leaving the country under the terms of the bail.
Jaime Tadeo, dakilosang magbubukid ng Pilipinas leader charged of swindling during the martial law era under President Ferdinand Marcos, granted absolute pardon by Ramos in 1998. Philippines Amnesty International welcomes release of peasant leader urgent review of plight of 400 other political prisoners. Jaime Kajimi Tadeo, chairman of the Kilosang Magbubukid ng Pilipinas or KMP, the peasant movement of the Philippines, was released from prison on parole on 6 August 1993 after more than 3 years in detention. Jaime Tadeo was imprisoned after conviction on a charge of misappropriation of funds or estafa, originally brought against him under the Marcos administration in 1982. Amnesty International considers that he may in fact have been detained for his lawful and nonviolent activities as a peasant activist and for his role as leaders of the KMP. Jaime Tadeo was arrested without a warrant at the National Office of the KMP in Quezon City on 10 May 1990. The timing and circumstances of his arrest indicated that it may have been carried out for reasons of political expediency rather than in accordance with normal judicial procedures. The arrest occurred in the context of widespread demonstration over the continued presence of United States military bases in the Philippines and over the government's agrarian reform policy. In both these areas, Jaime Tadeo and the KMP had been active and outspoken critics of government policy. One day before his arrest, Jaime Tadeo had been threatened by 9 unidentified men armed with automatic weapons believed to be members of the security forces after stopping Jaime Tadeo and a companion in the street. An armed man reportedly said, "Your days of criticizing the government are numbered." The ostensible legal basis for the imprisonment of Jaime Tadeo was the estafa charge brought against him in 1982. At the time, the government's National Grains Authority or NGA, now defunct, alleged that he had misappropriated a large quantity of unmilled rice while employed as manager of a farmer cooperative. The NGA filed a civil and criminal case. The civil suit was dismissed by a regional court, years and a maximum of 18 years imprisonment. The ruling was upheld by the Court of Appeals and the petition for review was denied by the Supreme Court in January 1990. The political background: serious human rights violations including extrajudicial execution, disappearance, and arbitrary detention have occurred in the context of armed conflict between government forces and the New People's Army or NPA, the armed wing of the Communist Party of the Philippines or the CPP, outlawed until mid-1992. The majority of victims of human rights violation are civilians whose peaceful political, social, religious, or human rights activities have brought them into conflict with government policy and practice. Such people are frequently accused or labeled by the military of being NPA sympathizers and their organization named as fronts for the CPP and NPA. Once labeled in this way, individuals are portrayed by the security forces as legitimate targets within a counter-insurgency campaign. In May 1992, after Fidel Ramos was elected President of the Philippines, a series of peace initiatives were introduced including moves towards negotiation of a political settlement with the CPP or NPA. An amnesty program was announced and in the ensuing months, a number of political prisoners were released, including some prominent CPP-NPA leaders. However, by September 1993, more than 400 political prisoners were estimated to remain in jail in the Philippines. Many of these prisoners are accused of criminal activities such as illegal possession of a firearm. Some have been convicted, others have been detained without charge or trials for many months pending court hearings. Amnesty International believes that among this group are prisoners of conscience detained solely for peaceful political activity. Available evidence suggests that the charges against such prisoners have been fabricated in order to provide a credible legal basis for the detention of those whose lawful political activities are unacceptable to the security forces. Amnesty International urged the government of the Philippines to treat its review of all cases of political prisoners as a matter of high priority. It calls upon the authorities to ensure that all those detained solely for non-violent political activities are immediately and unconditionally released.
Good day everyone, I am Karen C. Hapay and I'm going to discuss one of the persons who's granted by executive clemency. And I chose former President Joseph Estrada. On September 12, 2007, the Sandigan Bayan convicted former President Estrada, a former President of the Republic of the Philippines, for the crime of plunder in criminal case number 26558 entitled People of the Philippines versus Joseph Ejercito Estrada et al. The dispositive part of the draft court's decision reads, "Wherefore, in view of all the foregoing, judgment is hereby rendered in criminal case number 26558 finding the accused, former President Joseph Ejercito Estrada, guilty beyond reasonable doubt of the crime of plunder, defined in and penalized by Republic Act number 7080 as amended. On the other hand, full failure of the prosecution to prove and establish their guilt beyond reasonable doubt, the courts find the accused Jose Jingo Estrada and attorney Edward S. Serapio not guilty of the crime of plunder, and accordingly, the court hereby orders their acquittal." The penalty imposable for the crime of plunder under Republic Act No. 7080 as amended by Republic Act No. 7659 is reclusion perpetua to death. There being no aggravating or mitigating circumstances, however, the lesser penalty shall be applied in accordance with Article 63 of the Revised Penal Code. Accordingly, the accused former President Joseph Ejercito Estrada is hereby sentenced to suffer the penalty of reclusion perpetua and the accessory penalties of civil interdiction during the period of sentence and perpetual absolute disqualification. The period within which accused former President Joseph Ejercito Estrada has been under detention shall be credited to him in full as long as he agrees voluntarily in writing to abide by the same disciplinary rules imposed upon convicted prisoners. Moreover, in accordance with Section 2 of Republic Act No. 7080 as amended by Republic Act No. 7659, the court hereby declares the forfeiture in favor of the government of the following: the total amount of 542,791,000 pesos, with interest and income earned inclusive of the amount of 200 million pesos deposited in the name and account of the Arab Muslim Youth Foundation. The amount of 189 million pesos inclusive of interest and income earned deposited in the Jose Velarde account. 3. The real property consisting of a house and a lot dubbed as Boracay Mansion located at number 100 11th Street, New Manila, Quezon City. The cash bonds posted by accused Jose Jingo Estrada and attorney Edward S. Serapio are hereby ordered cancelled and released to the said accused or their duly authorized representatives upon presentation of the original receipt evidencing payment therefore and subject to the usual accounting and auditing procedures. Likewise, the whole departure orders issued against the said accused are hereby recalled and declared functus officio. On October 25, 2007, however, former President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo for extended executive clemency by way of pardon to former President Estrada. The reasons why Estrada may have been granted for executive clemency because of his age, whereas the administration of Gloria Macapagal Arroyo has a policy of releasing inmates who have reached 70. Joseph Ejercito Estrada has been under detention for 6.5 years, and Estrada has publicly committed to no longer seek any elected position or office. That's all. Thank you.